Hi, this is Dave Monette, and welcome to this 10-minute blueberry pie video tutorial. With lots of friends and clients visiting over the years during the fruit season here, we've come to really enjoy making fruit pies, and a lot of folks have asked, well, how do you do that, and how hard is it? Well, we figured out a way to hopefully make fruit pies the easy way, and I want to share it with you today. So here we go. We're going to start out with 2 cups, heaping cups, of unbleached flour and about a teaspoon of salt mixed up in a food processor with the plastic blades, not the metal blade that cuts, but the plastic blades. And we're going to put in this mixture after it's all mixed up. We're going to put in 2 full sticks of very cold sliced butter. And we're going to mix the butter until it's broken up into tiny little clumps in the flour. You don't want to overmix it, just mix it enough so that things are pretty smoothed out. Use your finger then, take the thing apart, use your finger to flatten it out, and then we're going to put in the first 2 tablespoons of ice water evenly around the contents of the food processor. Put her back together, mix it up just for a moment. You'll see it start to clump up a little bit. That's good. Stop instantly. Use your fingers again, flatten things out like so. And we're going to put in 2 more tablespoons of ice cold water, especially put it around the edges where the dry flour tends to collect. Then we're going to food process this a little bit more around and around until you see it really clump together and you see all the contents of the food processor start to stick together and rotate together. Then it's time to stop. Do not overmix this. It makes the crust really tough and kills any chance of having a flaky crust. So here's our crust, that quick. Nothing to it. We're going to form the crust into 2 balls. The first ball a little bit bigger than the second one. You need a slightly larger ball of dough to roll out into the bottom of the pie crust because it needs to conform to the shape of the pie crust tin. We're going to put an old, very finely woven cotton dish towel out on a flat surface. The finer the better. We're going to sprinkle some unbleached flour on the towel and spread it around like so to create a no-stick surface to roll the pie dough out on. Then we're going to grab the slightly larger ball of pie for the bottom crust and we're going to form it into a disc about 4 or 5 inches like so. Then you see the edges start to split and crack, so we're going to go around and just rotate this thing around, sealing the edges. Put it upside down on the center of your table where you're rolling it out, a little bit of extra unbleached flour on top, and then roll it out from many different directions, not just one direction. Keep things moving. You want to roll this out evenly and as round as possible, like so. And this pie dough is behaving pretty nicely, no big cracks on the sides. And then after we've got it most of the way rolled out, we're going to run our fingers around the circumference and kind of feel for any areas around the circumference of the pie dough where it might have thinned out. The very bottom of the dough there, it thinned out some, so we're going to take a knife and we're going to cut away the ragged edges and the very thinnest part on that bottom there, right there. We're going to cut that off. And then we're going to come back in with the rolling pin and roll the pie dough out just a little bit more. You see now cutting away the undesirable parts of the crust there. We no longer have a round pie crust. It's a little bit weird shape, but that's okay. We'll fix it. So then what we're going to do is roll out the crust just a little bit from the center out to the edges to round this up. Like so. Boom. Now we have a round, fairly round crust again. We're going to fold this in half without letting it crease. Bring it up to the pie tin quickly and then gently roll it out onto the pie tin. Now we're going to go around the circumference on the outer edge here and hold the pie crust as we let the crust kind of sink down in to conform to the contour of the pie tin without letting it stretch, without letting it tear, just like that. Voila. Now it's time to make the filling. Let's take 12 ounces of real maple syrup, grade A, grade B, either one is fine. We really can't tell much difference in the context of a pie crust. And then we're going to sprinkle in some very generous pinches of ground cinnamon. And normally would also put in a very generous amount of almond extract. I happen to be out of almond extract today, so we'll go without it. We're going to put in a half a teaspoon or so of salt. And we're going to put in 3 or 4 tablespoons of butter. This certainly works great on pancakes, maple syrup and butter. I think it works just as well in a blueberry pie. Then with the maple syrup room temperature, we're going to put in about 3.5 heaping tablespoons of cornstarch. Now normally I actually use not cornstarch, but tapioca to thicken the pie, but there's a couple tricks you need to know for tapioca that are really beyond the scope of a 10-minute video, so we're going to go with the cornstarch today. Mix it up pretty good, like so, and then after it's fairly well mixed up and the little balls are pretty well dissolved of cornstarch and the maple syrup, then it's time to stick some heat on this thing, get the mixture heated up, melt the butter, and we're going to put in 4 heaping cups of frozen blueberries. These blueberries happen to be from a U-Pick place about 20 minutes down the road from where I live, up here by Mount Hood, about an hour east of Portland. Now the thing that's good about using frozen blueberries is then you can mix them up here in the rest of the filling, and because they're still frozen, there's integrity to them. You're not going to smash them, which is good. So we're going to mix that up reasonably well, and we're going to heat this enough that it takes the chill off the blueberries so that the baking time will be a normal baking time, not 15 or 20 minutes more because you're using totally frozen blueberries. Now we're going to pour the filling into the pie tin here with the bottom crust in there, and then there's a chunk of butter that didn't melt, so that's going to go to the center, like so. There we go. Now we're going to find our upper crust that we rolled out just like the bottom crust that's been folded in half to transport. Unfold it on the top there. Now it's time to go around the edges of the crust and really form the edges, and we're going to roll both of the bottom and the top crust together like so. Roll them up and set them on the edge of the pie tin like so. Now we want to keep this rolling. I like to do it very loose, and I'll show you why here. If you don't roll them real tight but keep them pretty loose, then as the filling heats up and starts to boil, the mixture of blueberry juice that's going to come out of the blueberries and maple syrup and butter oozes up by capillary action in between the two crusts, the bottom and the top. Here you can see it come into the shot there, and it creates just a really lovely texture. We call this the ooga nooga of the blueberry pie. Okay, so now we're going to come in here and just lightly flute the edges of the pie. My partner Karen is way better, actually at every aspect of making up fruit pie, including fluting the edges and making it look beautiful, but this will be good enough for today, given I'm the one with a video camera. So then we're going to put the some holes in the top of this thing, vent holes for the steam to escape, like so. And ML, I wonder who that could stand for, Manny. And it's ready to go in the oven. We're going to do 15 minutes at 425 degrees, which is kind of hot to start, but we'll just do 15 minutes at that temperature to set the crust up. This is what it looks like after 15 minutes, and you can see this is good. The pie crust has integrity. It hasn't drooped off the sides. The fluting is still obvious on the edges. Then another 45 minutes of baking at about 350. And voila, we have a finished pie out of the oven. Now for an all butter crust, it's very difficult to get a flaky crust like you're seeing here, but you can do it by using 20 to 30% more butter than most recipes call for in a butter crust. That's what we did. We used 2 full sticks of butter for 2 generous cups of flour. And it turned out pretty good. Let's find out how we did here.
This is bloody excellent. Look at this. This is a crust. It's so flaky it is threatening to fly off of my fork as I speak. Unbelievable. You can hear the flakiness. You hear that? You hear the flaky crust? Oh boy. That's flaky. Thank you, David.
Very remarkable pie. Fantastic. Fantastic.
So thanks for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Any comments or questions, I can be reached through my company website, www.monette.net.